Hello, and welcome to my Thought on Sunday. And I'm actually doing it on Sunday, but later today, I'll be doing a Facebook Live event. So this will be short, although knowing me, it's never short, is it? I want to remind you that I have a book. It's called Getting the Last Laugh, and it's about how you can achieve your dreams. And the good news is that I have a second book out that I actually wrote 8 years ago. That is, from what I can gather, it's inspirational. But what it is it's stories about people I've met that have done, they're ordinary people that have just done the impossible because they wanted to. And I think we all can do the impossible if we want to. But what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit serious. So those of you who don't like when I don't crack little jokes, um, you should just tune out now. But I'm talking about the lockdown and the consequences of the lockdown. When I do my Facebook Live, I will be making jokes about it, but I'm not making jokes now. I think that there has been an immense cost to this lockdown. And the question yesterday, there was a huge demonstration of people who objected to the lockdown. Huge. My friend Christine was there, my friend Luke was there. I didn't even know it existed because there was no publicity. Um, and that also is important. Why was there no publicity? Why didn't people have a chance to make their views known um, about the lockdown? Because if statistics are correct, and I am told that you can make statistics do anything, but if statistics are correct, um, the number of total deaths in 2020 has not exceeded 2019. So that though the virus is very real, and I have talked to several people who have suffered from it, um, there's a question in my mind about what the death toll is saying. Now you have to remember that I'm very, very old. I'm 87, and I have lived through the polio epidemic. I lived through the scarlet fever scourge. I lived through Asian flu. I lived through uh, AIDS, which was unbelievable, and none of that shut down a country. And this has shut down the world. And what the consequences of it psychologically are the things that I'm going to be discussing now. The most difficult thing, what is it they say, the thing that people are most afraid of is public speaking. But I think that the one thing we're all afraid of is what people think of us, and we're afraid of strangers. And what has happened in the lockdown is we've exacerbated that because now we must stand 6 feet away from strangers. When you look at a stranger, you think, oh my God, they might be diseased. Um, the spontaneity of human connection has been lost. And I have just written an essay about skin hunger, and I'm going to talk about that now because I live alone. And I used to have dogs. I used to have dogs and cats. Um, but I still missed the connection of a human being talking to me, holding my hand, kissing me, touching me. I am not a dirty old lady by a long shot. Um, and I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about love and affection, which we all need. And most of you, this will feel good, are too young to remember when they had many, many, many orphans in Romania that they didn't know how to handle. So they packed them literally shoulder to shoulder in their little cribs, and they fed them, but they didn't have the staff to pick up the children and hug them and kiss them, and those children died. Um, I believe that the old people that have been isolated this way uh, are dying faster because we're not letting them see their families and we're not letting their families come to them. And we think that we are protecting them. I have a friend who is 92 years old. She's absolutely lovely. Her mind is alert, but she is going quietly mad in her little expensive senior home where they will not allow anyone in Florida. And right now, she is in love with the cook. And listen, we all can fall in love. and she's fallen in love with a man that gives her special food, and it's become the biggest thing in her life because she's locked in a room. She cannot go out with anyone, and she is very computer savvy. But seeing someone on a screen is not touching them. Seeing someone on a screen is not giving them that hug. And this pandemic has taken that away from us. Um, it is especially bad for people my age. There is no question that it's especially bad for people my age. I live alone. Um, there's nobody here. And what is it I always say? Touch is a human right. You tell that to the UPS driver. But the truth is, I don't want the UPS driver to hug me. I want someone who cares about me to hug me. And I can't see any of the people who care about me because I am considered vulnerable. I'm worrying about what has happened to our college students. And I've talked about this with several people who are older. If you remember your university days, it isn't, maybe it's the courses you remember, but that isn't what I remember. I remember the people. I remember the fun. I remember at the University of Michigan, which, by the way, is where Obama sends his children. And there's a big place called the Arboretum where we were supposed to study trees, but that's where most of us went to get pregnant. I remember hanging out at the League House. I remember walking through the quad. And I causing all kinds of trouble. I remember hay rides where we sang and we drank and we were wild, nutty kids. We've taken that there's a time to be wild and nutty, and we've taken that away from our children. And the thing that worries me is those of us who are older realize that the one thing we have control of is our behavior. I'm reading Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, and he's talking about his survival in the camps. But what he says is that's the one thing we have control over our behavior. So during this lockdown, even though we abide by the basic rules, we all have the right and the power to decide to what degree. For example, I have gone on walks every day since the lockdown. I absolutely refuse to stay in the house. I have gone on walks. I do not wear a mask because I have COPD and because I can't breathe. But I have made up my mind that I am not going to let the pandemic frighten me. However, I know my friends are frightened, and if they are, I must respect that. And so I stay 6 feet apart from people. Even though, who was it that somebody said, when I'm outdoors, if I think I'm going to get the virus, it's sort of like throwing a pile of rice in the air and thinking one little grain is going to go up my nostril and down my throat. But we are old enough to do this, but teenagers are not. Teenagers don't understand, and teenagers are fighting with hormone pressures, with trying to be grown up when they're really children, and they have a right to be wild and they have a right to be nuts, and they should be living away from home so that they're learning how to do their laundry and they're learning that they have to feed themselves, and we've taken all that away from them. And I am saying to all of you that we are coming out of lockdown now, and all of you who are parents and grandparents and teachers and mentors, that you must help these children stop being afraid of other people. I've also thought about how I've survived the lockdown, because I think it's important for you to know the lockdown has not been difficult for me. It's been marvelous, as a matter of fact. I've got my book, and my second book. I've done several shows on Zoom. I do my 2 walks a day, so I am more fit than I was before the walk. I have not gained weight. I'm lucky. I have a washing machine, so I've done laundry. But what I've done is I've taken control of who I am. And I've said to myself, you can look at this thing and you can say it's imprisoning you because it stopped my career. When the lockdown happened, I was on my way to Berlin, Amsterdam, Berlin again, where I was going to strip, and then Ghent. I still want to go to Ghent. I was supposed to go to Ghent, and then Helsinki, which I'm really just sick that I missed Helsinki. And then I was going to spend my 87th birthday in Ho Chi Minh City, in Saigon. And I go to Dublin 2 and 3 times a year to do comedy, and I adore it, and I get well paid, and that hasn't happened. So you would think, what a tragedy for Linda Miller, but not at all, because what I did is I said, all right, now it's time to look within yourself. You need to see, as you can see, if you look, I have no television set. I do not glue myself to a screen. I make my own entertainment, and I am reminded of my wonderful friend David Gemignani. And if he's listening to this, he's my wonderful friend. He used to be a psychiatric nurse, and when he retired, he said, I don't want to go on cruises and go to all this entertainment and join a fancy over 50s golf club. I want to make my own entertainment. I want something that comes out from me. And so he took up ballroom dancing. And because all women over 60 know the problem with wanting to dance, because I love to dance too, and nobody will dance with us because they want younger people with good cleavage. And my cleavage, of course, is down practically to my crotch. So that isn't going to happen. So David Gemignani goes to senior dances, and they pay him. And he dances with the older ladies, and he is an absolute doll. But that is the theory of how I got through lockdown, and I am telling you this so that you can continue. What I did is I made my own rules. I structured my day, and I made my day interesting. When I was not in lockdown, I used to do my reading on the tube and on the bus because I don't drive. Lucky all of you. They say that the lockdown, that COVID causes thousands of deaths. If you put me in a car and I drive to Sainsbury's, I can meet that number. So I don't drive. So I always did the reading there. Now I set aside 20 minutes to a half an hour to read because reading gets me out of myself. At night, after I set definite times for dinner and lunch and breakfast, except that people that know me know that I don't always eat 3 meals. But I have definite times that I do that, and I abide by those times. I set an alarm so that I will not just sleep away the day. I've structured my day. I make it interesting. I contact people. If I haven't seen someone in a long time, I write them or I call them. My day is filled with people. And then as soon as we were allowed to have a bubble, I included pretty much the entire city of London in my bubble. So I have a lot of people coming in and out of this house, sometimes with masks, sometimes not. But the lockdown then has been a really beautiful experience for me because I have had time to explore my creative inclinations. And I have had many more one-on-one encounters because when you're out and about, you're running around all the time. And much of the time that I spent in travel, going to all these places, or in performing, I am now spending getting to know the beautiful friends I had that I only knew superficially, even though I didn't know I had it. I'm looking at how long I've been rambling. So this is my formula for coming out of lockdown: is gradually, don't go all at once, because now we can eat outside, and when I walk and take my walk, everybody's eating outside. They're freezing in London, but they're eating outside. Do it gradually, but don't lose the touch with yourself. The lockdown, and do not think it's all in how you look at it. Do not think the lockdown has been tragic. Know that you learned things from the lockdown, but now it's time to come out. And now it's time to teach your children not to be afraid of others, but to respect others. And it's time for you, too, to reach out and hug someone. We're all very skin hungry. And thank you very much for joining me in my very serious thought on a Sunday.